Good morning, fellow beach adventurers. As you can see, we have a very empty parking lot ahead of us, which hopefully means there's some shells on the menu. Making our way out to the beach here, just want to say thank you for joining the inaugural beachcombing video. Hopefully we can find some good stuff and see what's on the beach today. We're going to begin using our flashlight because even though the sun's out, it's not technically sunrise. Sunrise is set to begin around 6:30. It does get light about 15 minutes earlier on our beaches, but as you can see, it's still necessary to use that light to find it. And we're looking over stuff, and there's a dead bird to begin our adventure. And look, oh, nice little fighting conch. Okay, we're getting into some shells already. Little jingle to begin the adventure. And as I was saying, this is the pilot video for our channel as we begin our beachcombing adventure, seeing some, I don't even know what type of fish that is, but there was a south wind on this day. It was blowing 30 miles per hour, so it's very windy. As we pick up an acorn barnacle right there, I tend to collect a lot of those because they are very colorful and I like them for art projects, even though I haven't implemented them any yet. Onwards, we're going and we're finding, let's see what we have here. Is it just a calico scallop? Oh, so that's actually a flat scallop, but it's the bulbous part of the flat scallop. Very pretty. And it was a negative low tide today, so these winter shelling conditions bring negative low tides and king tides and such, so that the shells are very available on the bottom of the beach and you don't have to shell the high tide line as much. Alright, just looking through these shells, what we have here looks like a nice little tellin. Beautiful shell. I like to collect those as well. We'll keep every single tellin I've come across. Let's see. Ooh, rough scallop. Very beautiful, very orange. I like that one. And it looks like the next shell is in fact going to be a calico scallop. We get a lot of calico scallops around here. Well, is it? Regardless, that's probably the most common shell you'll find is a calico scallop, but they're very beautiful, and 1% of them will be orange. Ooh, that looks like a flat scallop. The bulbous part of a flat scallop, that is, and I have a special collection for those as well. So it's scallop species, bivalve species, but not the same as the calico. And still looking, what do we have? Ooh, so this is, correct me if I'm wrong, I've seen it on a poster called a violet snail. This is actually my third ever specimen, and the two prior specimens were the size of a grain of sand, so this is an awesome find for me. They're extremely fragile, so gonna have to be careful with that guy to get him home safely. Also, they're super cool. They make bubbles coming out of their aperture, which is their mouth, and they use those as a raft to float across the water. And they eat the jellyfish. Yeah. Anyways, onwards. Got a nice little Florida fighting conch there. Okay, so what happened here? We are going back out to the beach because we got rained out and had to run back to the car for 5 minutes. And as soon as we got to the car, it stopped raining. And starting right back off with a beautiful rough scallop, very orange, very pristine, very desirable. And yeah, just a beautiful, gorgeous morning upon us. No one else on the beach. Rain pushed everyone off, even the fishermen. And got some more sadness. It looks like the top of a turtle skull. I think I saw 2 of those. And that's just part of life. Everything that lives must die. So going to find and shift through the debris and see if we can find any treasures there. Got a nice little olive, and that's a very special shell to me because it is my birth shell. March is the olive birth shell. Moving on to a Florida fighting conch. Nice. And that is a spiny cockle. Ooh, this is a first ever find for me too. This is a Leafy Oyster, I think is the proper name, and it's hinged. This is the first ever Leafy Oyster I found. You can tell the little orange there, it looks like just cuts of leaves, but awesome, awesome find, awesome addition to the collection right there. I was very thrilled with that one. Looking here, looks like we have a pair whelk because it kind of looks like a lightning whelk. The lightning whelk apertures are on the opposite side is the distinguishing factor. And a little broken piece of shell, throw that right back. You will not be coming home with me today. Ooh, nice little spiny jewel box. They don't get super spiny over on our territory, but we do get a good amount of them coming through. I think that's a type of lucine. Another broken fighting conch, but out of all my shelling trips, I would say this is above average shelling trip for the Pensacola area. Nice Florida fighting conch. The key is, I always say the key is to watch the flags, and when you have red flags or increasing tide roughness flags, once that roughness ends is when the shells start to come out. So once it starts to settle down from red to yellow, that's when you want to go and see if anything washed up, because yeah, right now it's very windy. Awesome flat scallop coming in there, and that you can see is the flat side of a flat scallop. Very awesome. And another flat scallop, and these are also a super common one in Pensacola Beach, and I probably collected 300 at this point. Now we'll collect 300 more until I have 1,000,000, because flat scallops are awesome, and everyone knows that. A big bulbous, I think that was a base scallop. When they get big and bulbous like that, I think they're base scallops over calico. And let's see, that was a broken tulip, another flat scallop coming in. Awesome. Ooh, very pretty calico scallop that is broken. And it shall go back and be replaced with, looks like a base scallop. Another cockle species coming in and flying away. As strangely as it came in, it has returned. And some nice little other sheller art. So in our area, we definitely get other shellers going down to the beach, and most of the shells are washed up rather than in the waves. So it's definitely optimal to be the first on the beach. Another spiny cockle coming in, and I ended up keeping a good amount of spiny cockles today, which take up a lot of space, but they don't always wash up, so just like to fill out the collection. Another one going in. What? Wow. That's what you come to the beach for. Little bit of a crack. That is completely okay. Wow, that's a Scotch bonnet, everyone. I think I have about a dozen in my 2-3 year here at beach shelling in Pensacola. So they're the 1% that you're looking for. An awesome, awesome shell. Ooh, wow, more rough scallops. I'll take as many as those that I can find as well. Definitely a beach treasure. Come home with me. Onwards to the slightly chipped flat scallop. Completely acceptable. And a nice Florida fighting conch. Ooh, I like the little orange on the tip there. How's the aperture looking? Very nice. Not chipped. Very nice. Ooh. Pretty auger here, which on the good shelling days, I'll only keep like 2 to 5 augers, the really good ones. If it's a slow shelling day, there's typically a lot of baby augers around. You can see one in this video right here. End up with 100. And a broken Florida fighting conch. also called the West India fighting conch. And what do we have here? Nice lightning whelk. Pretty nice lightning whelk. A little bit warm, but it can pass the eye check and go into the collection. And what is this? That was an apple murex. Sorry, I have to jog the memory going through all these shells, but first video perks, I guess. Little Florida fighting conch into the spiny conkle. You can tell that one was black because it had been buried for a while, so that was not the natural coloring of that shell. Nice little piece of coral. And another broken fighting conch. So there's a nice little patch right here going through. Had 5 to 8 broken fighting conchs, one egg. Nice little handful of keepers. Yeah, that was really fun. And the key is when you find one good shell, there's good shells around it. So I look a little bit harder when I start finding the minis and stuff like that washed up together. Because there are shelling hotspots throughout the beach, as you know. Ooh, nice 2 little fighting conchs right there. Yeah, which the fighting conchs are fairly common, I would say, and they typically don't get huge or the full adult size fighting conchs. You'll mostly find the smaller ones around here, but awesome because that means you can collect more. Aw, broken pear whelk. Ooh, aw, that would have been extremely amazing, but that was a broken helmet shell. Found 2 baby helmet shells in my collection that are about the size of chocolate chips, so still looking for the medium-sized ones or above. Ooh, that's cool. And those shells, actually, if you put a UV light on them, those bubble shells will glow red. Very interesting little shells. I do not know the scientific explanation behind why they do that, but super cool to behold if you have black light in those shells. And this is another Florida fighting conch, a little broken aperture, but still going to be able to come home with me. Ooh, I think this is our first live guy. Nice, beautiful shark eye moon snow. You can see the aperture was closed up there, so give him a little toss back into the water. Generally, you don't want to toss him too much, but a little bit shouldn't hurt him at all, and I'm sure he's happier being in the water than dying in the dry sand. That is a very micro cone. What cone? Who knows? Mouse cone, Florida fighting cone, alphabet cone, probably one of the 3. Another micro cone, which I'm all for the micro shells, so yeah, load me up. Alright, ooh, micro shell. Again, that's a little lightning whelk. Fresh hatch, no doubt, but still developed. Ah! We'll get him. Alright. Ooh. Fighting conch. Love it. Love to see it. Which you'll come to find over these videos. I'm a big gastropod fan, and that all comes along with growing up shelling these Pensacola beaches. They're very heavy on the bivalves, so my eye is trained to look for gastropods. Nice little tail in there. Nice moon snail, which at this point I'm super far from the beach, from the tide line at the bottom of the beach. I would say 40 yards. I'm at the very top tide line looking through stuff, and I think these past 2 have been a little bleached, you could tell, which leads me to think that there might be a market out there for shell bleaching, because I know they do it with Pokemon cards. Who knows? Flat scallop coming in. Beautiful. And a little moon snail. You can tell these ones that are up on this super high tide line, they're typically going to be with the debris, and it's going to be ones that are lighter shells. So those moon snails that have air pockets in them and stuff like that. And of course I was looking for a Scotch bonnet, but I do not think I found one up top on this trip. Nice lightning whelk though. Love to see it. And, ooh, nice pear whelk. Yeah, we'll take that all day. Those are pretty rare in our area too. Lightning whelks are like 3 times as more rare. And that will bring us to the end, and we'll start to pan over. Let's see, you can see the augers, the rough scallops, the flat scallops, the tail ends. So many microshells. The microshells were cooler. I wish I would have panned over that a little bit longer. But then here we see the big shells, scallops, all those acorn barnacles. Spared you the 50 videos of me collecting them. Egg cockles, got some olives, got some jingles, got some coral frags. Let's see, spiny jewel box, a little bittersweet under that spiny jewel box. A bunch of cockles, a lot of broken pieces, which I know a lot of shellers don't keep broken pieces, but I keep the broken Scotch bonnets,